So BoggleBoard challenge part 1, basic board generations. So looks like we're going to need to create a basic BoggleBoard. If you don't know Boggle, here's what the Wikipedia link so you could read about it. And step 1, create a basic BoggleBoard. The first iteration of our board will not care if it's possible for a word to be created with our generated board. So we just want to focus on actually building the board that looks something like this. It's a 4x4 matrix. Here are some examples. With when our new BoggleBoard is initialized, the output should look something like this. When shake is invoked, our board should look something like this. Great. Shake, cool. Smart BoggleBoard. Step 2. Looks like we got this Q representing, and we also looks like we have all the die in BoggleBoard, which is good. So initialize. I've seen some people just create 16, just like a string, 16 characters long. I've seen people do an array, a nested array. I've seen there's a bunch of ways to do this, but I'm going to do it with just arrays. And essentially, it's going to be an array with a length of 16, represented by the 16, 1, 2, 3, 4 by 4, 16 characters. I'm not really worried about like columns and rows yet. I just want to get an array that can hold 16 characters. So 16, I could do just 16, comma, like 6, what the hell? 16, 16, like, and just repeat this, or I can do times 16. So I'm gonna see what that looks like, because I write a piece of code, run your code to make sure it works. So a new game equals BoggleBoard, and then just invoke it. I'm gonna print new game. I want to access the game board. See what that looks like. Come down here into my terminal, clear it, cd into BoggleBoard or Boggle ls. Here's my BoggleBoard Python file. I'm going to execute that file. Python BoggleBoard. Oh no, what happened? Indentation. Unexpected.
Pass the shake, just to comment out shake.
This pass. So run that again. There we go. We got an array of 16 elements, a length of 16. Great. Basic BoggleBoard.
But
yes.
Because it looks like on the example it says it should be 4 lines instead of like a single string.
Correct. Yeah, and that's what we're going to do right now. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that this is in fact like that can hold 16 characters.
It's interesting to multiply the what's within the array than the array itself. Like I'm surprised.
Oh yeah.
Get an array of arrays. You know.
That worked. Yeah, that was new to me. So I want to actually create a method called printBoard that's actually going to like print this new board, as Steven mentioned, in like a 4x4 matrix looking thing. So def print board method. I need to take in self so I can get access to the game board. So I'm just going to print self.gameboard. Just again, just make sure this print board method works. I'm going to come down here and new game dot print board. I'm going to invoke it. Come down here to the terminal. Python BoggleBoard UI. Great, cool. Still doesn't look the way we want it to do, or the way we want it to look. So how can we essentially like grab 4 and like break this up and print it out in a manner that looks something like this? So I heard a loop. I heard a loop. So for index and range, I heard a couple of people say loop. In range of 0 to the length of the board, self.gameBoard, and then, so I'm new engineer. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know how the range method works. Range method Python. W3 schools, great resource, range of 6. So I'm looking definition, range, function returns a sequence of numbers. Okay, it looks like I've got a range start, stop, and then a step. So step is optional. An integer number specifying the incrementation default is 1. So in addition to starting from 0, so right here, range start, integer, stop is an integer, step is an integer. So I can increment it by 4. What's that going to do? So every 4, like, so this one, and then this one. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Print I. Get rid of that. So I'm down here in the terminal. I'm clearing. Bringing this up. So this is going to print the index incremented by 4. Let's see what happens. Oh no. Where is it? Oh, yep, sorry. So 0, index 0, index 4, index 8, index 12. So essentially I can do like index, print index. I'm gonna grab the first 4 index, so it would be index plus 4. I just want to see what that is. 4, 8, 16. Great. Luckily, we can print. Let's do self.gameBoard I in the range of I plus 4. So what is this? So GameBoard's an array. And this. That's fine. Let's look at that. All right, cool. Oh, wow, there we go. So we're getting there. We're not quite there yet. So this is printing the game board. And it's only printing the index as well as plus 4. So it's printing first 4, the next 4, the next 4.
We just use a string.
Can you use a line break back? We could. We could do that, I think. But we can also do a join. See what that looks like. There we go. Let's run that again. So I'm going to print this first one that we did initially. So that's just the self game board between the index and then index plus 4. And then this actually joins it together. You can also do spaces. That kind of looks, I don't know if that looks better. Not bad. Cool. Now the shake. What do we need first? First, we need to know a little bit about the game. We need to know like the dice. The dice looks like. Luckily, we have all the dice here for the game. So I'm just gonna copy and paste code. So I want to store the dice in the as a instance variable. Because you can actually, what if one BoggleBoard loses a die? Then all the die in the entire class will be lost. So every game won't have that die. So each instance will have their own dice. But that is,
But that is how it would be in real life, right? You lose a die, if one plays that game doesn't get.
right, but not everyone in the world loses the die.
Just you, Kevin.
Is there a difference between adding the dice as a the initial attribute instead of a class
Like
attribute?
in this case, like it won't really matter based on how we're using it. But like if you think, like as I said, like if you, each instance of the game will have its own dice. Whereas if you had it as a class variable, only one dice, essentially the entire world, no matter how many games in the world there are, there's only one set of dice if we did declare it as a class variable. So let's do the shake method. So we want to grab a random letter from each die and insert it into our game board. What's one way we can randomly grab an index? Or just randomly, okay, we can import random.
Tom, I had a question about the. So, what if we wanted, like, we wanted a different, like, create a different boggle game that the standard that takes the dice and makes like wild card. Like adding an extra, like changing the boggle game. Would you still put it in there, or would you put it outside? Would you still?
You'd probably have to create a method that you'd have to invoke that you want to change it to a wild card game.
Okay, but like
or change the dice.
Yeah, you could do that outside the class for that particular game, or would you do it within the class?
I would do it within the class.
Okay.
I'd create like a method that said like play wild card game, and that will change the die, or
Like
change
just,
the game
like
in a manner
die or something
yeah,
like
that will change the game into whatever you want it to work,
Okay.
however you want it to work.
Just, okay.
So I'm gonna random. I'm not. How does the random method or library work? Random. So I don't know. Get state. She got a bunch of built-in methods. Random. Abbreviate. Random choice. Is there a shuffle? All right, we got random shuffle. Immutable sequence and returns a new shuffled list. Cool. So random dot shuffle. We want to take in the dice. And let's print this. Let's print random dot shuffle. So we got the print board. We don't really need to print the board. I want to shuffle or shake. Clear down here. Come on. So what I did is imported the random library. Random has a built-in method called shuffle that takes in a list, I believe it is. Random 0 arguments returning a float. It's a new shuffled list. Cool. I'm going to print that to see what it looks like, to see if it's actually different than this order. random.shake. None. What's that?
I think it's because random actually doesn't send it into a variable type something.
So I'm gonna solve. There we go. Okay. So the first one is CIMOTU, which is different than that. Great. So every time we shuffle, we actually shuffle the die in a different order every time.
You want it?
So and now I want to essentially loop through that and grab a random integer, a random length, a random letter within this die, a random letter in this die, random letter in this die. So I can do for I, and this actually can take in another method. This dunder, this underscore, just essentially means we're not using this space variable. It's just an indicator. We can do space, but if we're not using a variable, we can do underscore that just as a visual indicator to the user that we're not using that. This part, it's just a visual indicator to another developer that says, hey, space isn't going to be used throughout the rest of the application. It's just a variable that's just there. Because if we look at enumerate Python, might take in essentially we can have two variables passed in. I'm going to pass in the game board. That's fine because if I did that, it'll work. But if I'm doing it, essentially putting in another variable.
So it's a temporary variable?
Yeah, it's just a placeholder. So I'm going to actually roll the dice, one die. I'm going to take random, int, 0, 5. So this grabs a random integer between 0 and 5, which will indicate the index grabbing a random letter in a die. So let's print, roll, Python, BoggleBoard. There we go. That's all the random. There should be 16 of them there. Looks about right. Great. Then letter, we want to grab self dice. I, because I is the index. Shuffling through this was like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all up to 16. So 1, I want to grab the random letter of that die. Letter, print it now. Instead of the index, it should be a random letter. Clear down here in the terminal, running low on time. There we go. Now we can, if we can do like self.gameboard at I equals letter. Now let's print self.gameboard. Bunch of it, great. So it looks like it's all that. But now part of the requirements, we have to deal with Q. This Q equals QU. So before that, we want to do if letter equals Q letter equals QU. Now, if we want to print the board again, we did shake. Now we want a new game dot print board, invoke it. See what this looks like down here in the terminal. There we Does the queue work? Well, where's the queue? Oh, Jesus, really? Oh, there's a queue.
It's not.
Yeah, like that's formatting. So undo that. Yeah. So that's how you create the BoggleBoard, part 1, part 2, or step 3, step 2, step 1. I am going to stop the